I haven't made a video in English, and since I now am able to do it, I remember one channeling information, and I wanted to share this with you, so maybe to calm down you for levels more. And the information was about, I'll talk about, it's about nuclear bombs and the past years of development and the past years of usage of them as for channeling. So where we got this information was we and friends decided to sit down for a conversation with some dead Russian soldiers, and there was eventually going through also an airplane pilot, like a military airplane pilot, and we're also going through some couple of soldiers and on the ground. So I'll just give the topic about the information which we gathered there about nuclear bombs. So firstly, actually there was a lot more information, but maybe I'll share the information about nuclear bombs, and then let's go with the other information there was. So firstly, to me, what caught my attention is that a nuclear bomb isn't just a bomb. It's a really complex mechanism. It's a what I understood from the channel is that, well, I've never actually done much research before that, and this still was mind-blowing to me. So a nuclear bomb, firstly, there are a couple of phases of it. Firstly is the arming phase. Maybe in English it sounds a little bit different than in my language, but what it means is a nuclear bomb itself has to be armed. So what it does, it activates the detonation phase. So and inside the nuke there is some kind of a capsule, like a chamber, where this compression starts to happen. So what it means is activation or arming means that the nuke, the chamber itself, is being armed and activated, and thus it can detonate on demand instantly. And then there is this rocket launch. So the nuke is being armed, it's being launched, and then it hovers and flies somewhere, no matter the destination, and then shortly before it touches the ground, it has to be detonated. So what it means is the nuke has to be, before impact, has to be exploded. So what it means is that the nuclear bomb needs to be as close as to the ground as possible, but not touching the ground. So what it means is, if by any chance the rocket itself is being damaged, or if by any chance the rocket flies a little bit faster or a little bit slower than needed, it affects the impact of the explosion. So it can affect the impact as, for example, the rocket doesn't reach the destination and explodes, or it reaches the destination and the rocket just touches the ground and the detonation didn't happen, and then the rocket just tears apart with all this capsule in this chamber, just deteriorates and it doesn't explode. Or maybe it explodes, but not as effective as it being detonated. So, and the dead pilot said that whenever you see an exploded nuclear bomb, you can say it's a highly success story. It's a high success story because the success story doesn't happen that often. And it's not like a rare occasion when it explodes, but they have to be tested and tested and tested. And keep in mind another thing is, he said, not what he said, but what he said about the Soviet nuclear bombs is they have somewhere along Siberia and somewhere near Ukraine, they have these silos, but the modern ones belong to kind of a global, it's a secret organization. Like, I don't remember the name, it was like maybe a year ago we channeled this information, but there is some kind of a nuclear bomb, like a nuclear weapon organization that's secret, but it's like scientific research and the civilization protection purpose. So, and they said that they are placed in many various locations around the world, including Russia. So what it means is that in the secret facility there are it's being research facility and also armed with nuclear bombs that are ready to work, like ready to be launched. But there were key factors about launching them, and these factors were I truly don't remember two of them, but nevertheless they were all really similar. Well, basically, after that they said, well, yeah, it's just basically the one, which is the only way that nuclear bombs would be launched. And there were a couple of things. The first was basically the same. If by any chance there is a threat from outer planetary beings or asteroids or meteorites, uh, like it wasn't classified what sort of a threat, but it was like outer planetary life forms harm to human civilization here. So if there by any chance is a threat, that it's a full scale allowed to use nuclear bombs. It's like this research facility, this research installation is some kind of a. I understood it's France, USA, maybe NATO as well involved in this. But these research facilities around the world, they are under one governor, which follows these rules, and these rules are these nuclear bombs are used in a case of outer planetary threat to human civilization that they cannot have control over. So basically what I thought is, for example, if in China by any chance some kind of aliens land and start taking over everything, they will use nuclear weapons just because they don't know how to fight it, and it's really difficult. So they can use these nuclear weapons. As for local institutions, local authorities, local presidents, and etc., where you say like Putin, they don't have any control over them. Nonetheless, they are scientists that can study and do research on these facilities. So it's like a study exchange. And what I tell about the nuclear weapons for the Russian Soviets, the Russian Federation, they in the channeling they don't say Russian Federation, they say Russian Imperia, like Imperia. It's like a brute force Imperia, where there is only the government way is brute force. And what I understood from brute force, the channeling information was that a brute force doesn't last long. It's like eventually the system of brute force collapses. It means that you do everything by force. You force the civilians. You force rules. You force everything. Like so everything is being completely forced there. So, and continuing about the nuclear weapons, so there are these organizations which have these nuclear weapons, but they are only meant for planet's protection, let's say like this. And by any way, if I'm sounding confusing, that nuclear weapons to protect the planet to me sounds pretty awkward or silly, let's say like this. It's like we fight for peace. It's the same. It's actually the same. So anyway, and they continue that you can say that the Russia doesn't have any nukes. Well, not of those who work, because they don't have in the history or in their production something that they can put that works. But they say another example. They say, like, for example, you can make a one nuclear bomb, test it until it works. That's fine. But when you build like a couple more of them in the same way that the previous were tested, if you make another one, you don't have any chance, or there is a chance, or there is like you don't have any guarantee that the nuclear bomb will work after 1 or 2 years. You don't have any guarantee to it. So you tested the previous models, they worked, but you cannot test a rocket right now. You cannot test it. It's just there, and you hope that you will when you use it, it works. But you don't know that, right? You will know it until you launch it and do it. So they said that's one thing, because And they also said that Russia actually has really, really weak air force. Air force, radar systems, satellite systems, air communication systems, guidance systems. They said that they have really, really weak these air stuff. They said that basically their jets are just meant to fly supersonic in a straight line, and that's all they can do with the air force. And to me, it was curious because people are talking that Russia has this really weak naval fleet, but who knows? I would be really curious to channel, but at that point, we didn't ask those questions because I'm only now curious about that. Just interesting to see the answers from the beings or from the channel. So, and then the pilot started talking how weak is Russian Air Force, and then he started to talk about how advanced is the U.S. Air Force, and he shared a couple of things which to me was interesting, and then he started to talk about the nuclear weapons from the U.S. experience. So he shared that comparing these jets, I understood it was a jet pilot, and how he died was that he was actually tricked into Russia to fly supersonic over one city just straight after the invasion, and the problem was that he was totally against invading something, totally against attacking civilians, and he always wanted to know his briefings, and the generals managed to push him. You have no weapons on your jet, and you just need to do supersonic flight over one city for like a research. Let's see the reactions, like study the reactions. And he agreed to do this. Not happy, but agreed to do this. And once he was inside the Ukraine, he was flying over one city, and he saw lots of smoke there. At first, he thought that there was some kind of a oil platform burning or something, but then he understood that it's war there, and he understood that he's tricked, and he started maneuvering backwards and he said that this is the problem with the Russian planes. You cannot do a quick maneuver like this. He said they start to drag. I mean, like this, start going like this, and it's really, really difficult to do this. First, you need to slow down, and then you do the maneuver. And because they are heavy, he said the jets are heavy. And once he did this maneuver, he started flying back, and somebody hit him from the back. So he died in the plane explosion. And he was some kind of American, not American. He was maybe Canadian. Actually, I don't remember. I understood that he was a foreigner for Russia. So anyway, and continuing, he said that the U.S. jets are equipped with many satellite systems, equipped with many surveillance systems, equipped with many radar systems. It's a one flying spy technology, and he said they're much lighter in their weight, and they're really quiet. And he said that there is no reason actually to go supersonic, because if you launch a rocket, it's picked up by radars and satellites pretty easily. So there is no point of going supersonic because it's instantly picked up by satellites. So there's no point of going supersonic because rockets fly faster than the planes. So when he said that one of his missions, he was flying this American jet, and when I saw, he was just hovering, really, really slow hover. The flight took many hours. Not like many hours, it was a long flight. He was hovering over some Iran or Syria, somewhere where the sea is. And the generals told him that you need to just fly there, release this hover bomb, and just maneuver back and fly back to the base. So the thing is, nobody will see you, nobody will pick you on the radars, no jets, no afterburners, no rockets launched. It's just from a high altitude hover, release hovering guided missile by laser. It's not a missile, it's just a bomb that hovers like with wings. So well, the thing is, nobody will pick you up on radars, and if the bomb drops there, nobody would know. If it's a military base, they will think that somebody attacked us, or the base exploded by itself, and it was in the night, so nobody knows anything, right? And nobody has any evidence that there's been an outer country attack to that place. Compared, if you fly supersonic and release a rocket, it's picked up by radars, the takeoff strip is already known, everything is already known. So you produce a lot of noise, a lot of surveillance picks you up, a lot of information about you, a lot of things known about you, and therefore also anti-air system is going to pick you up and shut the plane down. So he was really satisfied with US planes, but he was not only agreed to do things which are anti-war, and nothing is being attacked on civilians. So, and he told lots of comments about the US planes, and everything was okay with them, and they were really high-tech and super planes, unlike Soviet planes, Russian planes, and Russian Air Force, and etc. And then if you think, what good is about Russia if nothing works there, nothing, anyway. So, and then continuing about the nuclears. So he told that in the area where he was involved in, he told that nukes are not anymore tested for several years already. And I was like, what? I thought nuclear weapons is daily tested in some bunkers and underground basements and any place. But he, in the channeling, told that they are not tested for years already. And he said because it's really difficult and expensive and risky to test them and to work with them. Because he says that they from above, as he mentions they from above, but he said just they, and in the Air Force, where he worked, they just respond to they didn't allow it, or they're against it. So it means like there are some kind of civilizations monitoring these nuclear weapons, and they are against any nuclear weapons on this planet. So to me, from this channeling information, it points out that it's really difficult for a nuclear war to happen. I think it's nearly impossible. So because do something, and he told that he gave a couple examples. So there was a base somewhere in US in a desert. They wanted to do a test launch, and he said that there are several types of nukes. One of them are those who explode in air, and one type is that from ground to ground. It flies over some time and then hits the target and explodes there, something like this. So, and he said that this test was done, and there are also nukes that are from water to ground, also tests. I remember he told about submarine or no, I don't remember actually. Anyways, so he just like a year ago, and I don't have the exact memory what was actually said there, but I do remember the overall picture. I don't remember the exact examples. So wait, I need to watch the road. In the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. In the road, Jack. So there was a test facility that wanted to test the ground-to-ground nuclear launch. So the rocket needed to flew some couple of 100 kilometers in a desert and touch the ground and explode. So, but what happened? So it was shot by a rocket from a military base. rocket was armed, and then they needed to launch it. What I understood from the information is that there is a timer set on the armament, like with the reserve, that it arms the nuke, then it starts flying, and it's ready to detonate on a click. So the thing is, what happened? They armed it, they launched the rocket, but the thrusters didn't work. So the rocket was armed and inside the bunker. It didn't flew out with the jets burning, and then all of a sudden I understood the rocket just turned off. And then there was a massive evacuation, like a quick evacuation from the nuke, but people didn't manage to evacuate, and the rocket exploded there, causing major casualties and losses there. At this point I didn't understood how is that military can have losses, but what I understood is from this video, from this channeling, that actually the losses and expenses are really closely calculated. It's not like, we just buy some more and build some more. It's actually the resources, the base itself is really expensive, and it's not easy. So you better do low risk testing than high risk testing. So they decided that every nuke that is afterwards produced, they have to have this arm function and this arm function. So what it means is the nuke is armed, and then if by any chance it doesn't fly out anywhere, they disarm it. So what happens is, what happened later, this was the last thing that they tested the nukes. They wanted to actually shoot the nukes from the middle sea in Italy and somewhere around. They wanted to shoot small tactical nukes to somewhere, I don't remember where, somewhere near the Black Sea, the US. And what happened is that also they armed the nukes, they launched the thrusters, and the rockets didn't fly anywhere. There were 3 long rockets there. So they disarmed them, and what I understood, the rocket and tactical nukes are still there, disarmed. They don't even touch them. They are still there somewhere in the ship, and they don't do anything with them, because I understood it's high risky. It's too risky. So what happened is that they decided not to do these nuclear launches and tests, because if something goes wrong, they lose an entire, maybe entire fleet, or maybe entire ship. So they decided it's too risky, and he told a couple other examples. So one of them was from a submarine launch to ground launch. They launched it, and I don't remember what happened there, but eventually what happened was the submarine was destroyed. I don't remember what exactly was there, whether the rocket flew out and exploded underwater, or the rocket flew out or didn't flew out and the jets were working and melted like the sector of the something. I don't remember. But anyway, there was a lost submarine there. And what else happened was that they wanted to do a test like an orbital nuke, which basically is a rocket that's been shot from the base. It starts orbiting, and then it reaches its target and smash from the outer space somewhere in the target. But it was also a desert. In the desert. So what happened was they launched the nuke, it flew somewhere in the orbit, and they lost signal with it. And then the militaries are like, yeah, so somewhere in the orbit there is a armed nuclear weapon flying. So where did it go? What happened to it? Maybe it will land sometime. Maybe it will fall down sometime. Who knows? Maybe it already fell down somewhere. Who knows? Like, so, and that's another thing, another difficult thing, because if, for example, you nuclear weapon and it by any error it flies to a city and explodes in a city, that bomb will be traced. The launch responsibilities will be found. There was just like somewhere in Europe there was, or I don't actually remember where, but there was a anti-air system shut down a commercial airliner full of people, and there was a mistake in the system, and it shut down like a commercial plane with people, like ordinary people flying somewhere, and the military paid out compensations to everybody and tell them we are very sorry. So imagine they by accident launch a nuclear weapon and it falls down somewhere in the city, for example, in their own city. That'll be pretty tough and pretty difficult and highly risky for them. So, and then I was interested after this channel, and I started online, and I found that actually on charts you can see that the nukes are not being tested since 1993 or something, or 2002. I don't remember the years, but what it means is that nuclears are not tested for more than 20 years. And it's like at one day all tests were stopped, and when I saw these images and I saw these charts, I understood that they are handling this. They from above are handling this. So if by any means, I think there would be nuclears, like explosions, I think they will be really small, and I think there will be more for increased political change that will cause a change in some larger fields. So the changes are more needed through this experience than it was just to shut down it. So this was the easiest way to make a greater change. But I don't think nuclear wars or that changes, since I understood about channeling and how the planet is changing, or the consciousness is changing. It's actually really difficult to even start a war. It's actually really difficult to even find somebody who wants to fight. I remember, I don't know about the wars earlier, but there were millions of people in World War II, like millions of people fighting. And now in Ukraine we have or in Russia we have 50,000, maybe 60, maybe 100,000. It's like less, and people actually are not even, they are protesting against it, and they are not paying attention to it, or they are avoiding it. So they're not like, yeah, we want to go to war, and everybody stands in queue to get their guns, but they're actually avoiding it. So I think through these cosmical consciousness changes throughout every one of us, we don't feel the excitement of having a war, or we don't feel the will to do some wars. Maybe like a couple decades earlier there was like anger to a different country, there was like anger to somebody else, there was anger to this, anger to that, to like propaganda anger about something. But now, who cares? Like, we all are good, we all are friends. Why should I do something to others? So I think war is getting difficult, and wars are the only thing that I see this war is good for is as longer the war exists, the more money the weapon organizations will earn. So imagine there will be definitely weapons that can stop the war really fast, especially I think the US and NATO and everything. They can definitely bring in some weapons that can stop the war really fast. But it's not necessary. The longer it lasts, the better. Because the more it lasts, the more weapons they can sell to different countries, the more advertisements on weapons they have, the more. So it's it should exist always, and in certain levels, in certain fields, with certain attention. So it's highly beneficial to some, and highly casual to some as well. So it's like a balance. As always, there is balance everywhere. But yeah, well, anyway, that's the balance of life. What can you do about it? That's the way things go. And yeah, so I don't know if you have any questions, you can write them down. But I think I covered the idea which you want to share about. Yeah, and about the war itself, you put your mind into it and a little bit think. You put your mind into it and just think a little. If somebody attacks your land and tries to invade you and send you away from your home, now in that case you would really want to defend yourself and tell them what you think about these invaders, you know, or maybe make friends with them. But still, you will be really angry if somebody goes into your house and tries to send you away, and you can imagine. It will be really hard for many people to not be angry about it. And really, some talented people could make friends with them, but still, that's the thing where you can imagine, yeah. From that perspective, I really think I could defend and start defending this land, this invasion, this whatever it is in my territory. I mean, like your own territory, like your house, like your land where you live in it, and like that. But when you start thinking that you're being drafted because things are not going as well in a different country, which you don't care about. I mean, like for example, you are being drafted because the government what you have is losing some kind of war in, let's say, in China, or maybe in, I don't know, some Serbia or whatever, in a different country. And you just start thinking, well, I don't care about the country. I mean, like, well, why should I go there? It's your problem. It's not my problem. It's your problem. I mean, like, if you have problems there, go solve it yourself. Why should I go there? And in fact, if you're by brute force being dragged there, you have what am I doing here? You don't have the courage, the strength, the will to even do something there. You're like, and the situation, the circumstances there are really poor. You're being threatened from airstrikes, and you're thinking, like, what am I doing here? It's like there's no motivation at all. But as for if somebody attacks your, let's say, house, your place, you're angry and you are like in a different mindset. You're like, you can imagine that situation and you can understand that situation. But attacking somewhere else with no reason, it's really difficult actually to imagine there. And as a war, as an experience, time ago, this information came that we as souls, as beings, have this, when you come here to Earth, we have this like a catalog with experiences as food or as meals, that we can eat those experiences one by one. So what it means is, it's like an analogy would be, when you go to a restaurant, you open a catalog and you can eat something there. I don't know, maybe sushi, maybe pizza, who knows what is there. And these are like the common experiences, like a sushi, pizza, and potatoes, let's say, or burgers. These are the common experiences, like fall in love, have children, go to work and die, right? But there is a segment, Chef's Special. You open that segment and there is like really spicy chili sauce something, and you're like with friends there, and you're like, okay, let's do this challenge. Well, let's take these spicy things. Let's like do a challenge between us. And then you are thinking, okay, but okay, I will go as well. I will try it. The super spicy fish eyes, like in China we ate, or super spicy frog's legs, like. But they are so spicy, your mouth is just burning, fire coming out of your mouth. And then for a table you need 5 more people, and then you start asking your friends and your friends and your friends, can you fill this experience with us? And you try to fill those experiences, but other people know, I would really want to go with you, but I don't want to be shot in the head in the bunker next to you. He says, oh please, you know. And then a couple of friends, okay, I will go with you as well. So you build up a team, and then you go for this experience. And this experience actually, if it gives some kind of a taste, if it gives some kind of emotional taste, if it gives some kind of a also spiritual growth taste, it has to be there. It has to be there. So I experienced, understood, it's a really important experience that has to exist, because it gives a completely different taste, it gives a completely different perspective, it gives a completely different experience. Imagine everybody will be lovely and cute and friendship with everybody. Not many souls will be actually enjoyed by these experiences. You have some kind of adrenaline, you have some kind of fire to it, you know? And therefore all these souls that are incarnated to do wars are already there warring. Yeah, so anyway, as an experience it's really important, and as an experience it's also really important, so to have this offer to others. Watch. So anyway, that's it for the video, and see you guys sometime else on another video, and see you, bye.